The morning after the night before was a good night. No defeat's a good night. The final score at Portman Road, it finished Ipswich 3, City 2. I was just saying to the team before we went live, if that had come on the back of the Southampton win, a defeat like that, we'd have been saying, what a great performance, come up against a team that made it 6 weeks in a row against us. We'd have been happy. We'd have been totally happy with that. But the fact of the matter is, for my part, we played well, but we lost, and it's 4 defeats in a row now. Was it 9 points out of the last 36? Ain't good. I'm joined today by Ian, Mark, Dave, Fevs, and Tom. I'm going to say to each of you, keep it short, 30 seconds, thoughts on the game, because we've got to go through the action, quite a bit to talk about there. So I'll start with you first. Dave, what were your thoughts at a late one, wasn't it, 10 o'clock?
Ultimately disappointed, Dave. I think we played okay. But when you're 2-1 up with a quarter of an hour to go, and you lose 3-2, and that included a missed penalty as well. I think you got to come away from that feeling pretty disgruntled about it, really. So I'm kind of disappointed that we've not dug in enough and come away with something.
Okay, Mark, your thoughts?
I was totally, I felt totally sick and gutted at the final whistle last night for 77 minutes. And I think for the most part, we controlled the game by frustrating Ipswich. But we tired visibly at the end, made lots of mistakes, didn't manage the game well. And the game just went away from us. All the things we did well just went out the window, and that's how we lost an Ipswich's strong bench. So some really good things, some good goals, and the game. Wells hitting the bar, it 1-0, but ultimately empty-handed.
Ian?
Planning tactics worked until we went 2-1 up. Subs were effective. Sykes' assist for Conway goal. Naki created a fantastic opportunity and missed it. If that goes in, could be a very different game. We conceded soft goals with poor defending, and it was one of those games where I think we did everything right for about 70 minutes, or most things right. McKenna spent most of the first half shaking his head because he couldn't suss out what was going on. And when we went 2-1 up, we should have brought Roberts on for Mehmeti and double banked on Wes Burns because he was tearing Cam a new one down the right-hand side. Perhaps Andy King into central midfield just to calm things down, and we should have dropped into a lower block. We left far too much grass behind us late on, and everything we were doing right, we did wrong. And I find that, should the manager change it? Should the players react quicker? Possibly a combination of both, but those are the two possible different subs I would have made from what we had available on the bench, which once again wasn't a lot.
Okay. Tom, what were your thoughts? I mean, it was we all called for a performance before the game, and we got that. But as Ian said, it all went to rat shit towards the end, didn't it, really?
Proud of the effort, but the last 15 minutes was poor. I think they almost sucked the goal in. That's what it felt like. It reminded me of when West Brom came away at us a few years ago and Maine Sawyers scored for them. And it just felt like the goal was coming at one point. They had the penalty. The crowd was on. It's completely supporting the players through. And it just showed the power of substitutions in the league because their subs ultimately changed the game. And ours, although we got the goal, I think collectively, particularly, I don't want to single him out, but Mark Sykes could have arguably done better with 2 of the goals. But Wes Burns came on and completely changed the game. And that is what you get in the Championship, and you've got top players to bring off the bench. So proud of the effort and a bit gutted to not at least get a point. Like Dave says, you're up, you're winning with 15 minutes to go, and to get nothing, you're always like, well, what was that for? Almost.
Yeah. Dave, Tom just described Wes Burns as a top-class player. I mean, he had his time at City and then dropped down, spent a bit of time with Fleetwood. They're a solid team, aren't they, Ipswich? You can say there's big-name players in there. I mean, what is it that they've got in their lineup that we don't have? I'm talking about the lineup now before we get into the game.
I think they've got good players. You know, they're not outstanding players. They're by any stretch. And you look at people like Morsi and Luongo. They've not had esteemed careers at the top end of the championship, have they? But what they have is a way of playing that suits them, and you know, good, you know, a good bunch of players who are all of a similar level, with a couple of different match winners in there. You know, Broadhead wasn't playing last night. I kind of quite like him, but they had, you know, Kiefer Moore, who's had a decent career, hasn't he? Maybe coming towards the end of it now. So yeah, they've got a good setup, and they've got a good head coach as well.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about McKenna later. Mark, our lineup, did it pick itself as far as you were concerned?
Yeah, more or less, because there's just not a lot to choose from at the moment with the injuries. So you're just picking from the available players. You know, whether Wells plays instead of Conway, whether King comes in again in midfield. Yeah, much of a muchness really. Whether Roberts plays for Pring. People are saying, I mean, imagine Pring was fully fit. Perhaps it was, you know, too much to play at that high intensity for 98 minutes. Probably not. But yeah, I think the team picked itself, and I think what was good is that we made them think by playing what was a 4-4-2 in defence. You know, two banks of four, and then Knight alongside Wells, really stopping them playing it out easily and playing those quick balls down the side for the most part. Thought that was good.
Yeah. Ian, Mark just said Knight playing alongside Wells, almost in like a dual striker role. And I saw a few comments on social media. You know, why not play Tommy from the start, because he's got no injury problems. And the manager actually just said, I heard him in his pre-match, that Pringy is carrying an injury and some players have got to play through a bit of a pain barrier. I mean, he was done. He was all in by the end of it. But what did you think of, the starting lineup and playing Pring when maybe there is an underlying injury there?
Well, as Mark's just said, it depends who you've got available. Now, we have got another left back available, Hayden Roberts. People had varying views on how he played in the last home game, so against Cardiff. But what you could do is reinforce on that side. And I think had we reinforced late on, as I suggested, by getting Anis off, who was effective against them, let's not forget, and got a decent goal. You should be doing that run 5-6 times a game, not once every 8 or 10 games. You could have slotted Hayden Roberts in and dropped 10. So I think tactically, the manager missed a trick. And at the point the pressure came on, the quality of our team just as simple as that wasn't good enough, and we couldn't really. Well, we affected it from the bench because that's how we got the second goal. But no, I'd be of the same opinion. If you're going to play Knight as a second striker, play Conway instead and drop Knight back into midfield. If that means going 3 at the back, go 3 at the back. But play, which once again is difficult with the players we've got out injured. But drop Knight into what I think he is, which is more of a number 8, where he can use his energy and he can get forward and he wouldn't be picked up as much. He could still close down from that position if we're going for a high press. So yeah, if we're going to play effectively 4-4-2 or 2 up top, then Tommy and Naki, or even Harry Cornick, who I thought was pretty decent last night, until he looked like he picked up something, because he was waving at the bench before he came off. So it'll be if you're going to play with that too, yeah. We know that Tommy and Naki play well together, or they have in the past. So yeah. I would give that a try, and you can't do any worse than lose.
No, that's very true. Tom, let's get into the action. And we started well. We got our first corner after 8 minutes, and courtesy of Sky, we're number 2 out of 24 clubs in the division with 8 goals from corner kicks. I find that, well, a good stat, but hard to believe. But we contained, even the commentators were saying City have set up well, and you could just see it on the pitch, 2 banks of 4, with the two up front. I mean, it was a good start, and it silenced the crowd, is something that I wrote.
I think it was an effective shape that we had. It wasn't great to watch necessarily, but when you're playing a top team like Ipswich and a team in form, you come and you frustrate them. That's what we did against Southampton, and we ultimately got the result. You frustrate them to the point that you catch them on the break, where they push so hard because they feel goals coming that then you catch them out. First half, I thought we were good. I thought we were really good, actually. We didn't dominate the game per se, but neither did Ipswich. It was there for the taking.
They didn't know what to do, did they? They seemed to be getting frustrated, and the crowd were silent. It was almost like a library.
I think they expected us to sit deep a little bit and sort of invite Ipswich on, and then count on the break. But when we started pressing high, a lot of people have been calling us a press higher. I don't actually mind Knight. I get the shout with Tommy, but I don't mind Knight pressing from the front. I think his pressing power is better than Tommy's. The question would then be, is Naki the correct person to start for me with Tommy on the bench? Could Tommy have made more of an impact from the start than Naki? If we're doing that press, I think Tommy's better at the press than Naki is. But the stat from corners, go on to it. I think, we've looked really good from set pieces. But what I would say is Dickie looks great from set pieces. Yeah,
no, it's him. But he's got the scoring prowess of Aidan Flint on a good day. Dave, unforced errors. I've got two incidents that happened in the first half. McCrory, I can't work out Rob McCrory. You know, whether he's good. I'm not saying he's bad, but I just can't work him out. But he got robbed by Morsey, who set up Moore for a save, and then Pring, a total misplaced pass to Moore, and Chaplin brought a save there. I mean, you know, we don't want to be doing that when we're in a period of domination, do we? And it just puts us on the back foot.
Yeah, I don't think we were ever in a period of dominance in that game at all, if I'm being honest. I think, you know, Tom's talked about the way we played in the first half. I think if you look at it, I think we're saying it was good because it was kind of gutsy and it was solid and things like that. It wasn't a great first half performance. A number of times we turned the ball over. You know, as soon as they put us under a bit of pressure in the middle of the park, we turned the ball over in the main. They forced errors out of us, and it was a relatively scrappy game. I think away from home, you absolutely take that. You know, you've stifled Ipswich, but it's a one-dimensional game, isn't it? You know, we're basically set up to block them and stop them playing, and to the effect that we're not really doing a lot with it ourselves. We had a couple of counters. I think Cornick went down the right-hand side, didn't he, and put a good cross in for Wells, but we weren't effective. We're not playing anything like Liam Manning wants us to play. You know, there's no patterns out there as such, is there? And that's the worrying thing for me. So ultimately, you know, you will, you know, if you keep giving the ball away, you'll eventually concede some chances. And in fact, you know, they came from mistakes from us rather than perhaps, you know, just being pressed in the middle of the park and turn it over. We gave away bad possession. I think just on McCrory, I think, you know, this is not unusual for a player who's been out for a long time to come back in and almost kind of a bit like when you're playing in a 90 minutes, you need a second wind. I think he needs a second wind for his season. He almost needs like a couple of weeks out, recharge the batteries a little bit, and then go again. I think he's just hit that kind of brick wall, and therefore he struggled. You know, a number of times he tried to kind of come in field last night and drift away from his man, and you know, three or 4 weeks ago, he'd get away from his man. Last night, Harkness closed him down a couple of times. Morsey closed him down, and he lost it. I think he just hit that little bit of a wall, I think.
So without wishing to jump ahead, Dave, looking forward to Saturday, just on that point, would you see George Tanner would you see George Tanner, if fit, reclaiming that right side there for the reasons you've just said, Dave?
I would if he's fit, yeah. I don't know if he's going to be, though.
Okay, we go in at half-time 0-0, and we're all pretty happy with that. But as Dave said, not massively inspiring. Come to each of you for the goal. I think Mark, take us through the opening goal on 54 minutes, because it came from an unexpected source, didn't it?
Yeah, I think Dickie won the ball on the press, and Pring passed it to Mehmeti, who took on a defender. I think he comes inside Twenzibi and then pokes it with his right foot towards the goal. It's almost like he's falling and he's losing control, but his momentum takes it through and he pokes it towards the goal. And I can't remember if it came off Wolfenden heel and then went past Lackey into the net. But it's all about momentum. And he basically poked it in at the end. It's like he came to the end of his piece of elastic, which is executing the goal. But a great run from Ameti, took on his defender, and scored a goal. It wasn't a beautiful goal, but it was a goal, and it put us 1-0 up.
Yeah, Ian, that opening goal, that is what we want to see more of Ameti, and it looked there like he was playing with a little bit of emotion, wasn't it? That he did something unexpected.
That's why he was signed. If you remember, Nigel Pearson talked about needing a maverick, and you need a player to do that 4 or 5 times a game. Now, Mehmeti at the moment is more like 4 or 5 times every 20 games. So hopefully that will give him the confidence. There's a footballer in there, I'm convinced, but we haven't seen him come out often enough. So get in, to keep doing it. Once you get inside that box, they daren't tackle you. You saw what happened with Pring late on. You get somebody going into the box at pace, somebody slides in, you kick their leg, over you go, penalty. And we know that we've normally got a penalty taker on the field who's going to score in Conway or Wells. So that's exactly what we want to do. Let's not forget, great ball round the corner from the left back position from Cam Pring.
Yeah.
So well constructed, as well as the opening goal. And at that point, I'm thinking, if we can get a second, we might pinch something here.
Okay. Talking about the second, and Tom, I think the lads have described the goal there. Talking about the second, it's all about instances in games, and people said Naki Wells missed that chance, which was 4 minutes after the goal, set up by Williams, who robbed Luongo, the famous Swindon Town midfielder, if I recall correctly, who won the championship in November. Not. Did he miss it? I mean, he created the space. That I don't call that a miss. I just call that bad luck. How did you see it?
He did the hard work to come inside 2 defenders there. Naki showed great composure, and then to take the confidence to have it on your left foot and not try and force it near post with your right foot. I thought he did everything well, and that finish, it was. I mean, he's hit the crossbar. It's not as though he's blazed it over or he's put it wide. He has hit the crossbar, but he should score. There's no getting away from him. He should score, but to create the chance yourself, it's just moments in games like that where it's on a knife's edge. Ipswich are going to be pushing for it. If that goes away, heads go down, then you've got something really solid to defend onto. And I think as soon as he missed that, it almost got Ipswich up for it more, because they went up the other end and they were, as soon as Naki missed that, I think the crowd were like, right, we need something here now. And you could see from the players, there was a visible reaction. Dave's got his hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you watch the replay of it facing Naki, it actually bobbles, not a huge bobble, but is enough to probably be a bit more of a kind of up his foot rather than the side of his foot. And I think that's what's forced it up. I think he was only trying to, roll it in firmly, or not roll it, maybe just strike it firmly. I don't think he was looking to go as exact as that. I think just the ball's just sat up a little bit off the turf and caused it to go as high as it probably would have gone in off the post, I guess, if it had been a bit lower, or maybe come out to someone else. But yeah.
What are you thinking of Naki? I was going to come to you on that point, Dave. So since you mentioned it, what do you think of Naki at the moment? Is he? I mean, he had that chance, as Mark said early in later part of the first half, when Cornick put in a good cross, and there was a glancing header which showed some skill. They were saying that did require a lot of skill, the way he hit that, but he's having a lean time. And do you think he'll be a Bristol City player next season?
I think just starting off on terms of Naki was, I think before the game, quite a few people were like, "Oh, Naki's starting again." Tommy was rested Saturday. Surely he's got to come back in tonight. And I think as a striker, you need a bit of rhythm. And I think people were moaning, rightly so on Saturday, "Oh, Naki's giving away fouls. He's not sharp." Or whatever. That's because he's always having to come off the bench. And I think actually last night he played really well. He looked like he had a little bit of rhythm just from the fact of playing his second game on the trot. So I never have a problem with any team City put out. I think they're always a capable group of players. It's just about how they perform today. So I had no problems with Naki starting. Will he be here next season? I think you'd do well to get him out of his contract if you do want to get rid of him. So I think he will be, and I think he's still a useful player to have around at this point.
Yeah, but goal scoring is what he's there for, and he's just having a bad time of it at the moment. Ian, again, we talked about not missed chances, but decisive moments. But on the hour, McKenna, who they were all looking baffled, seemed to be looking at their iPads during the game whenever the cameras went on them. But a quad substitution, yeah, you don't see that happen very often, do you?
And that's where he was tactically, and that's where he was from a frustration point of view. I have to say, if you see a manager bring 3 or 4 players on, that's when somebody's lost it a little bit. And I don't mean they lost the plot tactically, but they're just frustrated and disappointed with the first 11 they put out. So do you say, well done to the manager for changing it? Or do you say, well, why did he set up wrong in the first place? And I think what happened is Manning caught him out by the way we played. I think McKenna wasn't expecting us to play like that. I think he was expecting something more akin to a 5-a-side game.
I don't think he was, Ian. I think his press conference said that was exactly as he expected us to play. He said that pre-match. He said he will play exactly the same as what they did against Southampton, how they played in the FA Cup, and they're hard to break down. That was his pre-match press conference.
I thought, but like I said, I thought we played well. But let's put it this way: if he did know how we were going to play, he didn't counter it very quickly. But that's why he brought the 4 subs on. And in fairness, as we said earlier on, if you get people who play. If you've got quality on the bench, if you've got squad depth, yeah, you can make those changes. It can affect the game. I think we did okay with what we had. But as I said, I would have brought, at 2-1 up, I would have brought Roberts on for Mehmeti and strangled that situation down the right-hand side, because it was virtually the same pass every time that played Wes Burns in.
Okay. No, I agree with that. Mark, you were going to add a point in there.
Yeah, I think it was almost, I mean, if you look at Kiefer Moore, he's not very quick with his feet. Like an old-fashioned target man, and you think they'd be looking for the knockdowns. He almost slowed them down. Al Hamadi, by comparison, was running at our defenders. You didn't see Kiefer Moore doing that. So it just transformed the game. There was pace and power. Al Hamdi, Jeremy Sarmiento, who's on loan from Brighton, he was very useful in the pocket. Burns on the right-hand side, and Jack Taylor, who they got from Peterborough, who he hasn't been starting. I think they spent a couple of million on him. Dave, is it Tco 3 million? Not
as much as that. Probably about 1.5. I think is. But
he hasn't really started. I mean, they've been playing with the majority of the season with the team that came up, but all those players were effective. I thought Sarmiento in the pocket. And then the big change was Leif Davis, who hadn't really featured in the game at all, suddenly got lots of space on the left. He assisted all the goals. It got a goal and it got 2 assists. Mm. So it was like, it was him, even more so than Burns that won the game for Ipswich, I think.
Well, 2 assists and the goal, which we come on to that in the detail. Tom, do you find it a bit galling that the players that have featured against us in recent weeks? It was Ugbu, probably got that pronunciation wrong, for Sheffield Wednesday. Al Hamidi, signed from AFC Wimbledon, wasn't it? Yeah. Kiefer Moore. You got 3 players there that are that have been linked with us. Yet 2 of them. Well, in fact, they're 2 of them are Ipswich. And they didn't spend big money. Do you think we should have got an Al Hamidi or a Kiefer Moore in that transfer window, as well as Scott Twine?
Yeah, realistically, we were never going to get Kiefer Moore. He would have had offers way better than us at the Championship. I mean, if you're Bournemouth, you're like, we can send him here to a playoff, if not higher, pushing team. Ugbo, it was on loan at Cardiff last year and didn't look great, but he's come into his own at Sheffield Wednesday because he suits the style of play. And who was the last one? Al Hamdi. Obviously, we were linked with him. But I think Ipswich were ready to pay the fee. And I don't think we looked at it as too much of a punt, because they wanted millions for a League 2 player, which is, you start getting into that. And League 2 is such a drop-off in standard that, I mean, if we were to put Anis Mehmeti in League 2, he would look, even at League 1, he looked fantastic.
Yeah.
And Mark picked up on the mate needs to play like that more often. I think that showed the centre back playing right back. Axel Transabe yesterday was a centre back playing right back, and he wasn't agile enough to deal with the mates cutting inside.
And they substituted him late on
and
with a conventional right back.
McKenna picked up on that, and as soon as Mate was going into the game, McKenna made the switch and brought on a right back. And when you're chasing the game, everyone's like, that's a bit weird. But he was the only threat throughout in that second half, I thought, with Mate, which was a bit, we caught them on the break for the goal, the second goal. Great ball, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But yeah, I thought strikers-wise, next season, everyone's gone on about Tinyon's interview with Radio Bristol. And like my dad says, feels here, what we've described is so not what we have. It's not Tommy Conway and it's not Naki Wells. It's someone to hold the ball up and bring Knight, Gardner, Hickman into play.
Like a false nine, you mean?
Yeah.
A false nine, you mean, Tom?
No, more of a target man, actually. So someone that, if we're going to go direct, it's someone that gives you the out ball, a bit of pace in behind. But the issue with that is that that's going to cost a lot of money because every club is looking for a runner as well as someone that can score goals. So you're sort of looking at it, and it's going to be one or the other. He's either going to be an excellent finisher or he's going to be a great runner. Because I can't see us getting a combination of the two at a real high quality. So
for the money, unless we go abroad. And if we go
that's
abroad.
always a punt. Yeah, it's always a punt.
It's always a punt. Dave, let's get the second goal. The equalising goal. Wes Burns showed Cam a clean pair of heels, and our defence was all at sea. It was Davis's shot. It was given to Al Hamadi with the tiniest of toe pokes there. But should we have defended that better?
Cam's missed his tackle, hasn't he? He's gone to ground, and if he's got a little bit on the ball, he's got a little bit, and the ball's popped up, and Burns is through, and he's got to the byline and pulled it back. If you'd have told me that Ipswich were going to score from a pullback, I'd have bet my house on it. Although I kind of think the circumstances of it were a bit different to how I expected. Davis is. I'm hoping he smashes it, and it's over the bar, or it's against a player. And unfortunately, he's kind of calmly side-footed it. And in fairness, Al Hamadi got a vital touch because I think it was Dickey back on the line who he might have got it away if not. So yeah, it was a frustrating goal because it was one ball kind of down the side over the top, and Pring lost him. Yeah, sorry, Tom.
Dave, I was just going to ask, do you think Sykes should be on Davis there at the back post? Because to me, he stopped running a little bit as Ipswich broke through.
I think, a big believer in you've got to do your recovery runs, and, you've got to think, I need to make that run because the worst might happen. You can't kind of think, well, I'll make it back up, because you won't. And in fact, that's normally where Cam Pring is really, really good. He's actually really proactive in his recovery runs. He actually makes that run so it doesn't become an issue. Last night, I think he just started to tire a bit. I think just going back to your point as well about Twanzebe, as you say, he's a centre-back. And I thought we played on him all last night. So every time the ball went out to the right back, that was our part to squeeze the pitch and make it difficult for them. You probably noticed that Leif Davis played pretty high on the other side. But what we tried to do was make them go out to the right back, and then we squeezed. And I thought the difference, I think on Sky's commentary, they said something like, this is a strange sub. They're bringing on a natural right back now. And I was thinking, yeah, he's a natural right back, but he's a footballer. And I thought Harry Clark actually at right back made a big difference for them, because suddenly, with Mehmeti starting to tire for the rest of the second half, they had a footballer who could make an impact, whereas Twanzebe was a bit of a donkey, to be honest. I was really disappointed with him, and I think that was almost the kind of the tactical change that made the difference, rather than perhaps I know Burns did really well, but I think that gave Burns the outlet to be able to then get a Pring.
Okay,
I'm not sure what your question was, Dave, whether I answered it now. So apologies.
That ball by Chaplin, Dave. I mean, he's played from Twanzebe to Chaplin. He swings his left foot, and it's a great pass, and it goes almost between Dickey and Pring. Was there any way that Dickey could have just come in and tried to make the challenge and held Burns up somewhat, or was the ball that good that he couldn't get a foot in? Because I just wonder if he could have just tried to slide in and make the challenge there when they were both looking to take on Burns.
I think
Slowed
he's
him
trying
down
to
the
cover
corner.
the middle of the penalty area as well. He's caught between a
A lot going
trying
on.
to cover his defender or not, or cover the man in the box, or what goes
But
across the box.
Here we put ourselves back in the driving seat. 74 minutes. I mean, it was Mehmeti bringing a great save from the keeper, but we got back in front through Tommy Conway on 77 minutes, and good goal, Ian, wasn't it? Yeah. How did you see it?
Fantastic diagonal pass from Rob Dickey, who's probably on current form. He's probably the best passer in the team, which might worry you slightly. But I mean, Virgil van Dijk's a fantastic passer of the ball, isn't he? And he's a brilliant centre back. Fantastic ball. Sykes did well to get to it. When he put the cross in, I thought it was going to be difficult for anybody to get a positive header on it because it was a lob as opposed to a ping or a cross. But fair play to Tommy. Great position. I don't think much of the Ipswich defending, I've got to be honest. But Tommy got a good looping header in. It's gone up over the top of the keeper into the top right-hand corner. And at that point, if we were going to make a defensive change and drop, that was the point to do it. Terrific goal for Tommy, and nice to see him score one because, like you said about Naki earlier on, he's not been. He's not been entirely full of goals, but the take of Manning's take, whether it's right or wrong, and it was Nigel Pearson's take in the summer as well, is no, we don't need a centre forward. We need somebody to set up chances, and that's why we signed Scott Twine, who immediately got injured. So that's where we are. So hopefully, like I said earlier on, if we're going to play that pressing style, that high pressing style, I think we need to play two strikers. And okay, we might have to sacrifice a little bit defensively. We could still play a 4-1-3-2, just be more attacking and try and be the side that wins 3-2, not that loses 3-2.
Tom, a couple of people said on social media, Tommy's smile when you score a goal, there was that sort of smug satisfaction as he ran across to the crowd. I mean, Tommy's not in a great place, I don't think, in his head, is he? He's on his way, and it's a case of where, not if. Don't you agree?
I think so. I think Tommy realistically will be gone by the start of next season. I think he's. But then what you do say to Tommy there, if you're Manning, it is put yourself in the shop window. You know, get the best move for you. You know, play to the team strength because he is still a Bristol City player. It's Bristol City Academy. It's not as though he's going to completely throw his toys out the pram because I think he owes a lot to the club and he recognises that. But I haven't seen an effort from him enough in some games this season. But also, I think he's been frustrated with how we've been playing. I think Tommy Conway is an excellent finisher. So you need to get the ball into the box. You need to let Tommy create that yard for himself. And if we're not doing that, and if we're recycling it around the box, then that's not Tommy's game. Tommy's not going to do the channel runs. He likes to be in the width of the box and running onto stuff where he can put it in front of him and then slot it past keepers. Now, we're not playing like that at the minute, so I understand his frustration. But it's a fantastic goal from Tommy. But great running from Sykes. I know I give him a bit of stick for the 2 goals we conceded, but a lot of players would give up on that ball.
He put in a great cross.
He put in a great cross because it goes over I think it's Leif Davis's head, and it looks like for everything that's out of play. Yeah. I think if you're a right winger and you see the ball go over the left back's head, you're like, right, it's going out for a goal kick. Doesn't give up on it. Great ball across, but he generates all the power himself, Tommy. It's a great header. But yeah, I think he is gone, and I think there's a few in that boat that you'd be saying, get the best move for you possible by ending the season well. Put yourself in an shop window from now till May.
Yeah,
agreed.
Dave, Liam's been criticised, amongst other things, for doing like-for-like substitutions, and you could say Sykes and Conway for Cornick and Wells. It was just that, and after we went 2-1 up, Ian's already said you could bring Roberts on. Yeah, that's right. You could bring Roberts on for the tiring Pring. And just to bring a bit of experience.
No, Dave, I didn't say that. I said you could bring Roberts on from Mehmeti, and then you've effectively got two left-sided defenders.
Sorry, I did quote you there. What I was going to go on and say, you could have brought just after that goal, you could have done a double substitution maybe and brought Andy King on just for his experience. You know, maybe sacrifice Knight. Yeah, what do you think of that view? And yeah, you're right, Ian. You did say Roberts for Mehmeti, but I'm just saying, you know, Cam was struggling. Yeah, what do you think, Dave, with that suggestion of mine?
He could have done several things. I think the fact that he did nothing, and you know, and people are going to know my views on this, but he's come out and said, "Oh, we got too emotional after the goal." Well, your job as a head coach is maybe to stop them being emotional. Maybe you do that by, you know, getting an old head on the pitch, you know, or doing something. You know, I'm not the manager of this team, but he did nothing. He kind of let it happen in effect, and that's you know, that's not the first time this has happened, is it? You know, it's like for like subs. There's a view from him, and people will probably moan about this, but he believes that his game plan will work, and he's happy for it to be, yeah, our game plan worked until it fails, and then it's on the players. And that was,
which is what he said. That's exactly what he said.
Is.
You know,
he didn't react. He should have been the calm head sorting it out, and he didn't. And I kind of put that down to him. In effect, we've got players that are blowing out their backsides out there. Mehmeti is one. McCrory, who picked up a knock in the first half, was struggling. You know, and people might say, well, that'd have been really, really brave to bring Jamie Knight the bell on, and it would have been. And I don't think, you know, I'd sit here and say, well, if McCrory's struggling and he can't run, and you know, and then Leif Davis is causing mayhem down the left-hand side, you have to do something about it, and we didn't.
What you could do there, though, Dave, what you could have done, you can put Mark Sykes if Roberts is struggling.
Yeah.
You can put Mark Sykes back there, and you can bring on the Mabuda.
Yeah, you could have done. You could, there were options available to him, and he just let it roll, and it's on him, I'm afraid.
Yeah, of course.
Right, Mark. The equalising goal, Viner crashes into Al Hamadi. Could it have been defended better? I mean, it's interesting. I've looked at it from the various angles, and in the first half, when they hit the post, Taylor Moore was a little bit asleep there, where I think it was Chaplin came in and scuffed one against the post, and it's Taylor Moore. What am I talking about? Gardner. Christ, all these double barrel names. Gardner Hickman, not Taylor Moore. Christ, Gardner Hickman. The shortest player on the pitch, Chaplin. He gets in the header. You know, should we be conceding there, Mark?
Well, it's a series of errors. It's straight after our goal. Although it was 3 minutes later, it was because of the delay in the goal and the free kick. So Viner gives the referee a decision to make by sticking it by, you know, looking to wrestle with Al Mohammadi, although it was probably 50-50. So it was a soft free kick. Davis takes a free kick just to the left of the penalty area, and it's over the top of Mark Sykes. But Connor Chaplin, who's probably the shortest guy on the pitch, loses Taylor Gardner Hickman too easily and just stoops and takes the power off of it. And Max tries to get his hand to it, but he can only force it with his right hand up into the top of the net. I don't think he can react quickly enough to get two hands. If his reaction time was quicker, which was difficult, perhaps he could have got two hands to it, but it was far too powerful. And all the momentum all the momentum is shifted just in that one instant.
Yeah,
One long ball forward into the left channel, which we could have defended better. Viner gives a referee, we give away a soft free kick, and then that's it. All the momentum's gone. All the credit that we built up is just gone in an instant, and that's really sad.
And he still doesn't react to it with substitutions.
Well, no, he could have made he should have made the substitutions. I think we can all agree he should have made the substitution at 2-1 up. We only made two subs. They made 5, 4 in one go, and then Harry Clark late on, didn't they, for Twanzebe? But yeah, that was the crazy thing. Teams like Millwall would have just spoilt it, but you can't legislate for giving away a stupid free kick in that position straight after a goal. Don't invite pressure. You don't need to. Why? You know, just mad.
Yeah. So, and I think King on in that situation.
Yeah, just some cool heads.
It's just experience. Yeah. What were you going to say?
I was just going to reinforce Dave's point. I think it highlights a weakness in Manning's game management, which I think is quite poor. I think actually we set up reasonably well, 70-75% of the time, But actually, in game, how much adaptation does he make to the opposition? I think it shows a certain level of arrogance about Manning's approach. I think, like Dave says, he thinks he always talks about the preparation for games. I think he does the preparation. He goes, right, this is what I think we need to do to win. And if it doesn't go that way during the game, he never radically changes it. He makes like-for-like substitutions, and he doesn't break. What I would have done is you need to break the game up at that point. It's not time wasting, but you cause a stoppage in play. Anytime there's a momentum.
We've seen teams do it to us, haven't we?
Well, I'm not advocating it, but you fake an injury at that point, or you go down. If there's a kick, you set, you get everyone in, right? You've got to hold firm. It's just that experience, and it's that a lack of experience on the pitch or off it. I think it's a mixture of both. I think also it needs a bit of leadership on the pitch when times get tough. You just go, right, okay, it's difficult. We've got to sit in here, but we're digging deep. Yeah. And when we conceded yesterday, there was only going to be one winner of that game. When it went 2-2.
When it 2-2, absolutely.
There was only going to be one winner. But Manning he's got to learn that he needs to change it in game.
Yeah.
He needs, set up, second half. When you're 2-1 up, you break up the play. You bring a sub one incrementally. You bring King on at 1. And 5 minutes later, you bring Roberts on. And then 5 minutes later, you bring Knight the Bell on. You just split the play, so it doesn't let Ipswich get this momentum. It quietens the crowd down, which I think played a massive impact yesterday. And it's just something he needs to learn, because I thought first half he got it right in a lot of ways. And
they were saying that on Sky in the second half. But he did blame it on the players because they stuck to the game.
He did it
without throwing them individually under the bus. And we all know Nigel had a track record of throwing players under the bus as individuals, but it's the collective that he seems.
I touched on this Sunday on the podcast. Manning takes no responsibility for when we lose. But when we win, he goes, well, the plan was brilliant today and players did it. When we lose, it's the plan was brilliant today, but the players didn't do it.
They let it down. Ian, do you think that's harsh criticism from Tom over Liam's game management and pig-headed style almost?
Pig-headed style, that's a bit of an emotive word to use.
Well, maybe I should have emotion on a podcast.
What I said at the very start when you said do your brief summary of the game, I talked about substitutes and he should have used them. But this is the second time I can clearly remember when there was a need for it. Do you remember the second half at Preston?
Yeah. They brought 3 sets.
So Preston are lining up. Yeah, Preston are lining up 3 giants on the side of the pitch because they're going to play alehouse football in the second half. And by the way, have you seen Preston go since they beat us and their manager was going out the door, Ryan Lowe? He was about as popular as a fart in a spacesuit up at Preston. And he didn't react to that. So that is definitely a fair criticism. And at the time, for example, at that time, he could have brought on a third centre-back. He could have brought on McCrory and played him centre-back. He brought him on later on. I think he played him wing-back. But McCrory hadn't long been fit then. So I'm not... he didn't make the best use of what he had, but that was true for the last... Well, since we went 2-1 up, I don't know what was the time of the goal when we went 2-1 up?
77.
7. Yeah.
Yeah. So so for the last 13 minutes of the game, we could have managed it a lot better. And I've outlined how we could have done that, and it wasn't much different from anything anybody else has said. Because we didn't have that much different to bring on.
No. Okay, a couple of more incidents to talk about in the game. Dave, you first. The penalty, was it? For me, Pring didn't get enough of a touch on the ball. So I think the referee, who I thought had a decent game as well, David Webb. But was it a penalty in your book, Dave?
It's one of those difficult ones, isn't it? I think Pring's stretched out. He's actually missed the ball as this kind of with his first attempt, and as his kind of legs bounced up off the turf, he actually makes a bit better contact with it than I thought, albeit not enough. I totally could see why it was given. If playing the ball doesn't necessarily mean it's not a foul, because there's contact with Burns ahead of that as well. So I've got no complaints. If he hadn't have given it, I'd have said thank you very much. But yeah, I think if it's the other way around, we'd have probably been saying is a penalty. So I think it probably was.
Okay, Ian, on the penalty, yes, fair decision by the referee.
I thought it was in the situation. It was a reckless challenge, and he went with his wrong leg. So the main issue was that Burns had got past him, and Cam was a good half a yard behind him. So it was always going to be difficult. So he's given the referee a decision to make. Was Burns looking for it? Absolutely, and any player would be. So
And
he made sure he went down.
isn't it, Ian? The crowd's up as well.
The crowd's up.
Yeah.
The crowd's up as well. He went down. He didn't go down completely dramatically. If you get a chance, see an incident in the Sunderland Leicester game where it was right at the end of added time. Sunderland players through, and it looks like a Leicester player pushes him in the back, and there is some contact, but the guy's gone down it's like something out of Swan Lake, and that encouraged the referee not to give it. Burns didn't make that mistake, so I think where we are. Could I see it? Did I think it was a penalty at the time? Yeah, and would I have been disappointed if that was on us and it wasn't given? Yeah.
Okay.
So, and to be honest, though, I mean, the fact that Max saved it didn't make any difference, did it?
No, true. Mark, what did you think? I thought it was a fair decision by the referee, and Max
I mean,
didn't have a lot to do, as Ian just said. He didn't have a lot to do.
I mean, it could possibly have been overturned on a VAR decision. I think he falls a little way away. He doesn't chop him down, doesn't take his legs. I think it's momentum, but he does catch the ball, and he is going for the ball. But I mean, then it's a penalty. It's a championship. We can't do anything about it. But it's a very poor penalty by Al Hamadi. Max goes the right way, saves it easily down low to his right, and we should have really taken that and said, "Great, let's close up shop." Maybe make a couple of substitutions and kill the game.
Another opportunity to make a substitution as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
because Cammy had been shown a clean pair of heels by Burns again, hadn't he? Yeah, so get him off.
Yeah, the other thing is, I mean, I think in these circumstances, Tom alluded to this, we're too nice in these circumstances. Other players, teams, they'd be going down under any challenges, do what you finally term as shithousery, because you can get away with it at the moment. So why not do it? Other teams don't do it. We're too nice. We still tried to keep playing, but we lost all the momentum. We wouldn't win any second balls. All the pressure was on us. And like Tom said at the top of the show, it was almost like the ball was being sucked into the back of the net, and you were just waiting for it.
It was. And I'll come to you, Dave, first for what proved to be the winning goal. Tom feels that despite Sykes playing reasonably well, certainly set up the ball for Tommy, he lost his man there, didn't he? And, again, a weak goal defensively.
Yeah, I'd like to know whether McCrory thought that Viner was going to come across and attack the ball when it was first played, because he kind of was a bit slow going for anything. He's got beaten by Sarmiento, who's not over at all. And I think that's because he was kind of caught in two minds as to whether to try and, who was going to come across and whether he was going to go and drop off and cover. And then, Sykes has let his man go. As I said earlier, he's not done his recovery run. He's not been proactive. He's tried to be reactive, and it's too late. And it's a good finish from Davis, and that kind of summed us up in the last quarter.
What's Leif Davis's background, Dave?
Leeds. Yeah, good signing from them. But I think this for me kind of. What was I going to say? I think it just kind of sums us up really in terms of it wasn't just. They had a penalty to go 3-2 up. They scored to go 3-2 up. Jack Taylor hit the post. Connor Chaplin missed a 6-yard rebound. They had loads of chances in that quarter of an hour, and we just sat there and did nothing. And I think that's where you need some leadership from the sideline, or you need to get that leadership that's maybe sat on the bench in someone like Andy King. You need to get them on the pitch.
Yeah, good point, Tom. I'm going to come to you in a second, Tom. The goal, when you play, as we know you're injured at the moment, but when you play, would you be questioning, would your manager question how that was allowed to happen?
Because it's such a soft goal, but I think our mentality was that it looked like a defeated side at 2-2, our mentality. And Ipswich were fully going for it, and our players knew that they were going for it, and it was almost waiting for the inevitable, it felt like. And like Dave mentioned, there was no lack of chances in that last.
Well,
he kept.
They almost got another one after. They almost
got
got a fourth, didn't
it
they?
was an absolute onslaught. Like that could have easily have become a 4-2, 5-2 game, and then everyone's saying one awful performance, and that would completely put doom and gloom on the 75 that came before it. Because I thought there was a lot to be proud of in that 75, but that last 15 was shocking. It was. I saw tiredness and I saw naivety from Liam Manning to not change it. As he stands there, arms crossed, sort of looking at the floor, going, oh, right, okay. And then the Max save, you look at it, Max saves a penalty. That's your sort of spur. You're up for it there.
Yeah.
There was no like reaction after that Max save. It was like, well, now we're waiting for the next chance, and then we have to defend the next chance.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And Ipswich, they weren't fazed by the penalty at all, because a couple of minutes later they got the goal, and then they kept, Sykes is weak for the goal. I think. I think
Possibly not 100% fit either.
Possibly, but neither's Pring.
No,
Pring wasn't 100% fit, but I think that shows a lack of trust in Roberts. The fact that Pring has not been 100% at both Sheffield Wednesday started and yesterday started shows that Roberts is not rated by Liam Manning at all. And I think the goal from Sykes, Leif Davis is only going with his left foot there, so you have to show him down the line. He gives him that yard, and it's a good finish. I don't think there's a lot Max could do about it because it goes through Sykes' body.
And Dickie's on the line. Would it have crept in anyway, do you think?
It's difficult. Might be hitting the post, but you don't take that chance if you're Dickie. I don't have any qualms with him actually going for the ball there. But I thought it was just a weak mentality. And I think when we concede at the minute, the life absolutely drains out of us. And when it went 2-2 and when they missed the penalty, it was just like this, right, okay, it's coming here. And everyone in the crowd felt Ipswich.
Their total belief in their ability to score goals. I mean, they threw the kitchen sink at it with those 4 subs. And that's the confidence for team at the top. Total confidence in their style of play and that they're just going to keep creating championships. It must be wonderful to be an Ipswich fan, even if you're behind.
They didn't do it recklessly, Mark, did they? They just kept doing what they did.
Yeah, exactly. They just kept doing the right things. It must be great being a fan. The number of points they won from behind is incredible. That ability to stay in games and keep winning at the death. They did
it again.
You just love to be in their position, but it's the confidence to do that. I mean, Davis throwing himself forward. He was quiet. It was his mistake for the Conway goal. They just switched off in the middle, but they don't let their heads drop. They just keep going. That's testament to the management and the players all playing as one. It's really a collective. There's no outstanding players there. The collectiveness of that team is outstanding for coming up from League One. So good credit to them.
Ian, question for you: do you think Liam has poor in-game management?
He's like most managers, most head coaches, if you want. I think he gets some things right and he gets some things wrong. We've had experienced managers with not a great deal of experience. And I've seen them come and go over the years, and they all make mistakes. But I think it is worrying that I can think of those 2 occasions this season. There's probably others if I sat down and went through the games, and I'm not going to. If I sat down and went through the games where he hasn't made effective changes, and don't forget, you can make changes, they don't necessarily work. It's a little bit like team selection, isn't it? I mean, Andy King, who we're talking about now, he started against Millwall. I didn't see him do a lot. I mean, he was tidy enough, but he'd be one of the ones I criticise most for not getting on the turn and passing the ball forward and not creating tempo in the game. So, it's he's like everybody. He's gonna make mistakes, and I don't think you'll necessarily change that.
Okay, Tom, you were going to say something.
I think Ipswich looked like a unified team, which we are not at the minute. I think there was a oneness from the management to the players that we're in this and we're all in it together. And I see a divide between the management and the players on the pitch at the minute at City. Now, I don't think they've lost faith in Manning, but I think there's going to be a certain level of annoyance. This is just speculation, but I think there's a certain level of annoyance from the players that they are always made to take responsibility for every loss. And Manning sort of stands there and goes, I've given you the tools, you've not done it. And I think Manning at times has to admit that he has not made the changes and he could have done better with the 15 minutes there.
Yeah. Dave, your comment? I think you're going to echo that, if I'm much mistaken.
Yeah, I think that comment on Saturday, you know, I can give them the tools to get to the last third, and then it's down to them, is a massive abdication of responsibility. You know, that was the part of the game that this guy was brought in to solve. And he's now saying, not my problem. You know, the easiest thing to do is to knock it around the back in the middle thirds of the pitch. To be creative in the final third is the bit that he was brought in to achieve, and he's failing miserably on that, I'm afraid.
It's Hogg as well, because Hogg, if you listen to Tommy and Naki, Hogg does a lot of work with the attackers, but yet we never hear anything from Hogg. He stands there, and I remember with Curtis Fleming, he used to be really involved with the club and communication. I've not heard anything from Hogg since he's joined, but he's supposed to be the one that deals with our attacking play and our attacking build-up. And it's just like when we're not scoring goals and we don't look creative against these, you know, we did look good. We looked okay. We looked better than we had been last 3 games last night offensively. Not good, but better. It was a low platform. But when we were, you know, we scored 1 goal in 3 games against really poor sides, I thought. And where's Hogg? Where is the pre-match conference with Hogg where they go, you know, what can we do better here? How's your time been at the club? You know, there's no communication there. It seems like Manning's got his staff that he not hides away in the background, but he's there and he goes, he's almost like the spokesperson for them at the minute. And
I want to hear a different voice, Tom. Don't you? Just to break it.
One at a time. Sorry. Right, Mark, you next.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare it with some like Steve Cotterill, we're all in this together. And a lot of managers do that, but managers have their different style. I think at the moment, that's completely wrong. He does need to take responsibility because, you know, he knows that the pressure is on him. You know, the players must the manager must read some of the comments from fans on social media and know that would be better. It'll make him look better if he took some responsibility and said, look, we can sort it out. I need to do some things better because it's glaringly obvious that happens. You know, at key moments. It's almost like a little bit with Ipswich, you know, like starters and finishers. But you do need to counter that when you've got 5 subs that you can make. I know we only had 7 on the bench, so you look at it 6 really because of the sub goalkeeper. Do something about it. Spoil, just block, frustrate. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, Ian, do you think there's an element of arrogance about? This is what's coming through. I'm going to use the word element of arrogance about Manning and his way is the right way. Does he think he's the special one? I mean, you know, the special one, Mourinho, he didn't have a successful playing career at all. He did learn off of Bobby Robson, but do you think the special one needs to show a bit of humility going forward and take some responsibility?
I don't think very many managers in football are massive on humility, are they? I don't think that's a trait you'll see in a lot of managers and a lot of people in the game. They're not massive on humility. And I this stuff about, oh, well, he looks like this at a press conference and he does it. I don't want a song and dance man or an after dinner speaker as the manager, right? Fleming used to be more active on the bench because poor old Nigel Pearson was on walking sticks for a fair length of time and he could hardly move, the poor bugger. So that's why Curtis Fleming was probably out. I see Manning doing the same stuff. I mean, did you see what McKenna was doing last night? Was he jumping around and doing this and saying that? He would, like you said earlier on, after time the camera panned to him because they have to show us, you know, a shot of the bench, which really, really gets up my nose when the game's going on, or they'll show you a picture of somebody picking their nose in the crowd or eating a pie. That gets right on my nerves. So you know, this stuff about personalities. Does he need to take responsibility? Well, he'll take responsibility because if the results go on the way they are, people want him out. Well, people want him out now, and some people have wanted him out as an adverse reaction to the board since he walked in the door. So I don't see that changing. Football is a results business, right? And at the end of the day, that is the thing that is going to keep him his job or lose him his job. Is results. Right. And it's as simple. It doesn't matter about personality. I mean, you know, you look at people's body language. Sometimes it can be deceptive. I mean, Tommy looked almost cheesed off when he scored that goal last night. You know, so I don't know. We've got some very, very high running stats if the players aren't working for him or running for him. So I'm not, you know, at the end of the day, if he doesn't get the results, he'll be out of a job. Simple as that.
Well, and we're heading that way now. All right, I need to wrap up in a few moments, but we've got another game coming up. Is another local derby of sorts coming up on Sunday, 12:30 kickoff. I haven't decided when we're gonna do our pod review of that one. It'll be Sunday or first thing Monday morning. Dave, some people have been saying on the text feed on here, you know, it's a massive game, but you know, there's 10 games to go. Is it 10 games to go now or 11?
Yeah,
it's 10 games to go. I've looked at the league table. You know, we're Rotherham are gone, and we're top of a pile of 10 clubs with a better goal difference than any of them. But we need a win on Sunday to stop this decline, don't we?
Yeah. I think that's a fairly obvious thing. We certainly need to start picking up some points somewhere along the line, because 44 won't be enough. But I just you know my view on this. I think I've seen enough, and I don't think time is the healer on this one. And I think if you let him have the summer, he'll compound the problems. And I just bite the bullet. No, I know that wasn't the question, Dave, but I think I'd rather get someone else in now, because I don't think he's gonna turn it around. And that's not to say we're going to go down, okay? Because I don't think we will. I think we will pick up enough points, but I think the direction of travel for me is downwards, and I'd get shot. And people will say you've got to give him time. Well, I don't think you have.
That's a massive loss of face for John Lansdowne and Brian Tinian if they have to pull the plug, you know. And do you think a defeat on? I mean, there's an international break coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So there's 2 games before that international break.
Steve Lansdowne is hell bent on proving to the football world that he can get a young manager to get us promotion. That's your kind of top level objective. And I think then you go down and then you say, what do we want? So we want a young, progressive, modern, on the grass coach. Okay, fine. Liam Manning ticks all those boxes. But they also said, and we want it to be high press. We want it to be front foot. We want it to be forward thinking. We want it to be attack minded. He's none of those. We're a low or mid block, turgid, possession, passive side. We aren't those. So what they've done is they want a particular type of manager, but they've actually appointed the wrong guy to play the way that they want to play. And I think they just make it worse and worse.
We've got as well. So we
haven't got bad players. Every player pretty much that we've signed have all come out of Cat 1 academies that they can play. They're being told to play the wrong way, in my opinion. And I will happily sit here if Manning turns it round and change mine and say I was wrong at that point. Not a problem at all. And that time was the healer. I just don't think it is. And that's my opinion on it. I'm not trying to be right or I'm not trying to be wrong. I just think that's my opinion at this point in time, and that's where I think the direction of travel is.
Okay, Mark, wrong man, wrong players, wrong time.
To play the type of football that we do, we need hugely impressive players, and it'll take a major rebuild at the end of the season. That is a big chance. I think the only teams that can play possession, front foot football aggressively are probably the teams that come down from the Premier League who have got money to bring those sorts of players in. I think is a very long shot. I think we'd have to develop a style of play that looks to get the ball forward a bit more quickly with less passing, because we can't produce those players that quickly to keep those long strings of possession and create chances and score goals. I think we can get better at it, but ultimately I just don't see that. So I think the board would be under pressure to make a decision if we lost the next couple of games, and then you're faced with the Leicester game on Good Friday. But that would mean, a huge amount of embarrassing, and somebody would probably have to get the boot as a sacrificial lamb, and it won't be John Lansdowne, will it? So that's the situation we're in. It could be the toss of a coin if we lose a couple of games, and that'd be very sad, because I don't think it helps the club going forward. So they made a decision to bring Manning in October. And I think I thought at the time we'd have to go backwards to go forwards, but we've actually gone up. We stayed where we are, and now we're dropping back. And there's momentum. There's momentum to go into a free fall. So in short, I just don't know. It's a bit of a mess.
Well,
I hate reaching that conclusion, Dave. As well, just sorry.
Yeah, I think Dave, you articulate it well. I just don't think we got the players here, or we could bring the players in. We could afford to play that type of football. Would you agree?
I look at Russell Martin. Russell Martin wanted to play, let's call it pep ball, with Swansea. He's never going to have the budget or the players to play pep ball at Swansea.
Yeah.
So they ended up being a mid-table-ish side. Give Russell Martin Southampton and parachute payment players. He can look fantastic. And I think
you agree.
This is the bit where I say I think that it's flawed, because we're trying to play a way that will never be the way that we'll be able to play. Actually, the kind of irony of it is the way we'd end up being like a Southampton is to get to the Premier League first and come down and have parachute payments.
Well, you look at,
there's a big flaw in that because we haven't got there.
You look at how Burnley have played. They constantly play with a high line and tried to play out from the back and got murdered. That's what's happened to them. They
were a
tried to play the
parachute
same way
payment club, Mark. They could do that in the Championship.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't do that. We have to. No. We needed to play a more pragmatic. But look at Ipswich last night. They were the epitome of a front foot, high press team. Yeah. They didn't always execute it very well last night, but when they did, boy, were they exciting to watch.
Absolutely.
I'd sit and watch them every week.
No, absolutely. Get the ball forward.
We'd like
we want to see a style of play. We want to see a style of play like Luton got. Ian, when Liam was appointed, it was very much a case of getting more out of the squad than what Nigel is getting at the moment, so make it better. But the way this is all coming at the moment, we're saying, well, what they've done, they've brought in a manager who's not going to improve that squad, but is going to instill a different style of play than, are we going to go through wholesale changes again? Yeah. And, that's what he wants. I mean, recruitment of the manager, is wrapped up with recruitment of players as well, and it ain't going well, as my headline said for the previous podcast, is it?
You look, let's put it in plain English. You've got a choice. You get rid of Manning, and exactly the same people who pick Manning will pick the next bloke. Right? Won't be us. Won't be the fans. It'll be in. So you bring in that guy, and he wants to do something different again because managers are different. So he looks at this. What's it going to take him? A month to get his arms and legs around the squad? Who's who can play where? What's happening? He's going to be getting advice from exactly the same people. So by all means, I don't give a monkeys if they sack Liam Manning and his coaching staff tomorrow. I don't. The reason I think we shouldn't do it is because I don't think it'd make a difference in the time we got left. We got 10 games left. What we don't need at the moment, I think, is another radical change, because as we've all said, sometimes it worked. It worked against Southampton. It worked against Watford away. It worked in the first half against Borough away. We beat Borough at home. We beat Hull at home. So we know we've got players. We have got, please God, we have got possibly 2 or 3 coming back. And as we said earlier on, with McCrory taking a knock, he might need a rest. And
Yeah.
I think he'd have got one last night if George Tanner was fit.
Yeah.
So you can if you want to make the change, make the change. There is another alternative. If he stays here and he gets us up and we don't think, and in the summer, you could make a change then and bring a new bloke in. But by God, it's going to cost you a lot of money. But the Lansdowns are used to paying out an awful lot of money.
Yeah.
And the final analysis is the board's decision. So that's Gavin Marshall, John Lansdown, and obviously Steve for the money. So
and Brian Tinian.
No, it won't be Brian Tinion's decision to sack Liam Manning.
He'll have a lot of input though, Ian, won't he? He's the football man.
Well, they'll ask for his. I've no doubt they'll ask for his opinion, but they're also going to say, "Well, hang on a minute. What does it say about the board?" If you're right, Dave, and I'm not saying you're wrong, if you're right, and they've got to say, "Well, we brought in completely the wrong bloke." Oh, when was it? When did he came in? October?
November.
Start of November.
Yeah.
Start of November. So you've got November, December, January, February. You've got 4
months, haven't they? Yeah.
About 4 months. So in 4 months, he's gone from being, the bloke we really want, give him a 3.5-year contract, bring in his assistants, pay Oxford heavy compensation for all of them. Now we don't want it. And my worry is, no, hang on, Dave, hang on, let me finish. My worry is that exactly the same people will pick the next bloke. And if they
maybe
get
there
that
needs
wrong,
to be a challenge about who picked him in the first place, and as part of that review.
Well, yeah, but they're the people who are going to pick him, Dave. It won't be you, and it won't be me.
Do you think John Lansdowne identified Liam Manning?
No, I don't.
Gavin Marshall.
I think
they've taken a lot of advice from their technical director, haven't they? And that's not me trying to stitch Brian Tinian up here, because I've got no beef with Brian whatsoever. But I just think he's now the person in who should be in their spotlight. If they're thinking of Liam Manning isn't working out, they have to think about who's the guy who's probably been the biggest influence in saying Liam Manning is the right person to bring into this club. Because in the people on the board, is it? It's the person in the football directors department.
But lots of people want different things. I mean, somebody on here's just said everybody wanted Chris Hughton, and Chris Hughton was a done deal. And then he went to Forest, and they had to get rid of him because he couldn't get a tune out the players.
Yeah, but that's just deflecting onto something else, isn't it? We're hearing now with Liam Manning.
I'm saying if you say who's going to pick him, exactly the same people are going to scout a new manager, and apparently they've got a list of coaches, the same as they've got a list of right backs, left backs, and all the rest of it. Who's going to scout that people? It's the same people. So are they going to make a better decision this time? You'd hope so, but they might get it wrong again.
Whether those are the right people to do it, and whether they need to change the decision makers, Ian, don't you?
Well, so you then finish up saying, right, well, we haven't got the right people on the board. Mind you, we thought that with Mark Ashton, and he hasn't done bad at Ipswich, has he?
Hang on. No, Mark Ashton, Mark Ashton, maybe it was the way Mark Ashton was left by the owners, right? We haven't
exactly right. But so what you want about now? Changing? But Dave, you're not gonna change the owners, mate.
No. Well,
we've been through this a million times.
For me, I think Gavin Marshall is an accountant. John Lansdowne is the son of the owner, and Brian Tinian is the one out of that group that knows more about football than any of us and the rest of them put together, right? And as David said, and I think Mark's agreeing, and Tom as well, that the decision to hire, the sort of appointment that the board would have made, as in the board, without any input from Brian Tinian, probably would have been in to bring Frank Lampard in. But Liam Manning's come in as one. Don't think
they want to pay Frank Lampard's wages, Dave.
Well, okay, but that's that.
He might have gone for Gary Rowett.
Yeah,
that's maybe another one.
Yeah, another one. And look, clubs change managers. Look at, Sunderland, they got rid of Beale, right? That's still not going very well because they've lost five.
They lost five in a row, haven't they?
And
Millwall, they wouldn't. The club wouldn't. They wouldn't give two. They wouldn't take. They wouldn't give two hoots if it felt like losing a scapegoat. If Manning was to go, then I think they get rid of Tinian in a flash. Because Tim is responsible. John isn't going to go anywhere. The board aren't going to go anywhere. It's easy to get. There's no sentiment in football. It's easy to get rid of an employee and bring in somebody else, and then the fans have got their sacrificial lamb. Easy as pie. Done.
Somebody's well. Look, we all want, as it's always said, City to win every game, and we want that to start for this last quarter. It's still just about a quarter of the season, starting on Sunday against Swansea. Last word from you, Tom, because I need to wrap it up, guys. Some of us have got work to do. In fact, most of us have. Tom, what is it massive on Saturday, or if we get just a
Sunday?
Sunday, Christ, I've said Taylor Moore, now I'm saying the game's on a different day. Is it as massive as some people are making out, or is it just another game?
No, it's massive. For me, it's massive. I think if we lose that, then I could see him going. I really could. I think you don't want to be on the same run of results that Holden was with 9 games left looking over your shoulder. Because at the minute, that's all we're doing. And it feels like there's a relegation battle slowly incrementing up on us. And whether people are aware of it or not, or willing to say that we're in it or not, because it is a big statement, but I wouldn't have faith, in my personal opinion, on Manning in a relegation battle. I don't think we show enough fight as a team if we were to get sucked into it. Do I think Manning should go now? No, but I think Manning's appointment to finish up on was too much of a change from what Pearson stood for and what Pearson was to this club. I think they are a complete opposite ends of the spectrum, and it was too much of a radical change mid-season for the players and the whole club. So that's where I stand on it. Whether we get into summer and we look for a different person, that's an option. But we need something on Sunday, points-wise, just to calm us down, I think, and stop the free fall of the losses.
Okay, all right. Well, for what it's worth, I mean, a couple of people have mentioned Mark Ashton on here. Mark Ashton came to Bristol City and he learnt his trade here to a point, and he's gone off to Ipswich and better managed by the owners at Ipswich. He's clearly doing a good job up there. I know a few Ipswich fans and they think he's absolutely marvellous. Yeah. I fear that if we stick with Liam Manning, right, if he keeps us up and he's given into next season, Liam Manning will show us a clean pair of heels at the first time a better club than Bristol City comes knocking on the door, if he has a moderate degree of success here. And therefore, us as poor fans, yeah, in the same way that we saw money being spunked away under the Ashton Johnson regime, if Manning does survive, it's going to be us as paying fans that have seen somebody learning their trade at our expense. I want him to succeed. Yeah, he is a bright young coach, but after 57 years, it'd be 57 years to the day, the weekend of the international break. After 57 years, seen it all before. Bristol City never failed to disappoint. Frustrating, but we still love them, and we'll be there. All of us will be there watching the home games and in some cases the away games as well. But Dave, Mark, Ian, Tom, everybody who's tuned in at various stages, it says about 270 people watching. So I don't know if you're all out of work at the moment or sat there with your Xbox. But that's a record. That's a record number. We've got good balanced views, and thanks for all the positive comments that people have made on social media in recent weeks. And as you can see, maybe Tom's the exception, but we've all got faces for radio here, so it's very brave of us to put ourselves out there on YouTube.
You're just ruining Tom's career, aren't you, as a model? There you go.
Everybody, thanks for listening, watching, text contributions, and when do we want to do it? When should we do
6 on Sunday? I don't know. Would it be convenient? 6 on Sunday.
I can do 6 on Sunday.
Let's do 6 on Sunday, boys, and everybody who's listening. Have a good rest of the week. Speak to you all soon. All the best. Bye bye. Bye.